The mission is simple: to help high achievers naturally eliminate emotional and physical obstacles so they can optimize their life for higher achievement. Welcome. You have just entered the Genesis Zone. Good day, and welcome to the Genesis Zone show. We are at a new time right here on Thursdays with our live component. Previously, we were doing pre-recorded interviews on Thursdays and doing a live show on Fridays. We changed the format up a little bit, and we're doing pre-recorded interviews on Tuesdays and at noon Eastern Standard Time. And we're doing the live show, the In the Zone segment, on Thursdays at noon Eastern Standard Time. Welcome. This is Dr. Brian Brown. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. I know there are a million places that you could be right now. You've chosen to be here with us. So greatly appreciate it. So have you ever been in a place where control was driving you crazy or smothering you or creating more messes in your life than it was solving? You want to know how to move into a place of peace related to control? Well, in today's In the Zone segment, I'll be sharing some insights that I've learned through the years of working with clients and how you can overcome the deadly illusion of control once and for all. So let's jump into today's segment. Last week, I didn't go live. I was out of town at a conference and we were switching the time of the show. So last week, one of my best friends, Liz Hall, was a guest on the show. And this week we had Melissa Jones as a guest on the show. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time recapping both of those segments since I was not on the air last week. Let's start with Melissa Jones from this week first, because it's fresh on everybody's mind from Tuesday. She spoke to us about nurturing your hurting inner child. Now, Melissa's a specialist that works with empowerment of women, and she works specifically with young girls and empowering young girls and in helping them learn how to accept themselves. And she went on to say that the way that we can start each day and accomplish more than what we ever thought or imagined is to focus on three, what she called needle movers. Those three things, the three dominoes that you can topple every single day that actually will move you forward and propel you forward. And she not only teaches herself, she uses this with herself, but she uses this with her clients as well. She focuses on three needle movers every single day. I've got to be honest with you. If you focus on one needle mover per day, you're leagues ahead of the average person. But Melissa takes it one step further and she says three needle movers every day. Let that be your focus. Whether or not you achieve toppling all three of those dominoes or not, it doesn't matter. You put the effort in and you can pick back up tomorrow where you're left off. And then she talked about how to clear what she called, and I love this term, the tornado of negativity. So that's about midway through the interview. If you missed that interview, go back and listen to Melissa's interview. It was absolutely amazing. And then Liz Hall from last week talked about the micro step approach to losing weight and why that works. She talked about at length about what's missing in today's weight loss industry. And that mindset is critically important to achieving our goals when it comes to weight loss, because if we don't take care of the 6-inch space between our ears, some more times than not, we're going to self-sabotage and we're going to end up back in the same boat that we were in. And we see this happen a lot of times with people who do radical weight loss programs. They'll lose a lot of weight, but because they didn't take care of this, they'll end up right back in the same boat or worse than they did before it all started. So Liz talked about being just honest with yourself, honest with those around you as being one of the keys to losing weight. And of course, dealing with self-worth and self-esteem is also a major key to making sure that you can lose the weight that you need to. But then she went into the micro step approach to weight loss, and it is exactly what it sounds like. It's not It goes back to the old adage, how do you eat an elephant? You literally eat it one bite at a time, but you have to start with small bites. And that's what the weight loss journey should be. What's one little victory that we can get today that's going to propel us forward in our weight loss journey? And Liz did an amazing job at outlining that last week. So if you missed that interview, go back and listen to that. But it does lead us into today's segment when we're talking about control, because whether we're dealing with empowerment of women or empowerment of ourselves, regardless of what sex you are, a lot of times we try to control situations that are way beyond our control. And when it comes to weight loss, we try to control things that are way beyond our control. And I love the way Liz Hall put it. If we can put these into micro steps, the little bitty things that we can do every single day, then oftentimes, more often than not, we're actually able to start making headway in the direction that we want to move in order to get the results that we want. But as the title of today's show says, control is a deadly illusion. And I firmly believe that. And I'm gonna talk in detail about that here right now. So in life, I believe that there are numerous things that are beyond our control. I mean, we only have to look back over the past 18 months to figure that out. You know, we can't control other people's behaviors. We can't control traffic situations when we're driving. We can't control natural disasters. We can't control gas shortages and toilet paper shortages and quarantine mandates and pandemics. You get the idea. There are a lot of things that are beyond our control. But here's the clincher. The more that we perceive in our minds this lack of control, the more many of us attempt to actually control the situations, the things, the people in our life. Isn't that kind of odd that the more we perceive a lack of control, the more we try to control? But yet it's this dynamic that plays over with human beings all the time. And it's something throughout my career that I've seen play out over and over again. It's kind of like, and I've always said this, it's kind of like the 3-year-old child that doesn't know how to share their toys very well. So in other words, they're kind of like, if I can't have control, you can't have it either. And the sad thing is that when it's all said and done, these our feeble attempts to control situation, people, and circumstances end up creating huge messes. Having practiced psychiatry for 23 years now, even with the transition to functional medicine, I still do psychiatry. It just looks different. But having practiced for 23 years and counseled numerous clients on various things, various issues, various hangups and challenges, the biggest messes by far that I see people get themselves into most every single time are centered around control. So the big question is this: how can you control, quote unquote, the issues that you have with and around control? That's the question. And it's a question that burns in everybody's mind. Okay, I know I've got control issues. How can I deal with it? Well, there's a passage of scripture in the Bible that says, and I'm really loosely paraphrasing here, stop obsessing over the little bitty splinter in someone else's eye and deal with the plank that's in your own eye. You see, I think control is a deadly illusion meant to destroy our self-esteem, our self-worth, and our relationships with another person. And I actually think control is quite abusive, if you want to know the honest truth. And if we go back to that analogy, that story of stop obsessing over the little splinter in another person's eye and worry about the plank that's in your own eye, that's for preservation of the species, so to speak. Because if you got this plank sticking out of your own eye and you're looking at somebody else, guess what? You're banging them in the head with this plank that's sticking out of your head. And it's very abusive. And I think it's a perfect example of how abusive control can be. And it leads us down this deadly path of destroying our relationships and destroying our own self-worth and our self-esteem. If we get distracted by the stuff that other people are dealing with, and that's so easy to do. It's easier to deal with somebody else's stuff than it is to deal with your own stuff. But if we get distracted by the stuff that other people are dealing with and the things and situations that come up in our environment on a day in, day out basis, we don't have the emotional energy, the mental energy, the physical energy to deal with our own stuff. Not only does it drain us, but it puts us in a position to where we simply can't deal with our own stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not advocating for trading one controlling situation for another controlling situation. In other words, I'm not advocating to stop trying to control others and start controlling yourself. No, I'm actually advocating for moving away from the word control altogether, or at least changing the meaning of the word control. So I'm advocating for allowing for the possibility that control, quote unquote, is truly an illusion, and it creates potentially deadly outcomes for our psyche and for our physical body. We can talk all day long about how the emotional turmoil that control creates raises stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, and the list goes on and on and on. It creates hormone imbalances and lifestyle imbalances and health imbalances, but that's another conversation for another day. But control can actually ruin your life, ruin your physical body. But if you've hung around me long enough, you've probably heard me say the phrase, control what you can and don't worry about the rest. Well, allow me to explain that very quickly by what I mean with that statement, because the word control for me means something totally different. And I use that phrase a lot, and I just felt compelled to go there today to kind of tell you what I mean. What if the word control meant managing instead? In other words, manage what you can and don't worry about the rest. You know, here's the cool thing. When we manage stuff or people or situations, it's a two-way reciprocal street, okay? Meaning it goes both ways. I mean, the true definition of control actually gives the connotation that I'm putting 100% of the effort and responsibility for the outcome on my shoulders, and the other party isn't doing anything. It's a one-way street. Now, control also gives the connotation that I am pulling back that other person's responsibility, or that other party or that other situation's responsibility in the whole play, and I'm taking 100% ownership for it. I got to tell you, that's an unhealthy place to be. There's this amazing rule in business called the 51% rule. I love this rule because it not only applies in business, it applies in personal life as well. It simply means that each person in a relationship puts in 51% effort, 51% ownership, and 51% responsibility. In other words, everyone is a majority stakeholder in the, get this, in the investment of the outcome. You see, when we approach a situation, when we approach a relationship, when we approach a conflict, there's an outcome that we hope to attain from this. But if we go into it with control, we're 100% responsible for the outcome of this entire situation. That's not equitable. We need to be majority stakeholders each. It's the only time in life that each person can be a majority stakeholder. Because if you think about it, you're talking about like ownership of a company. One person can be a 51% owner and another person can be a 49% owner. But in this particular scenario, the 51% rule says everybody can be a majority stakeholder when it comes to working through issues, working through challenges, relating to another person, relating to a situation. But there's another thing that's cool about the 51% rule. As I alluded to just a second ago, it can be applied to any situation or any circumstance or any relationship in your life. So when you move from controlling to managing, you get to choose what to manage. Now, I personally recommend putting as little on your management plate as you possibly can, because life happens. There are things that get piled on our plate that we had no intention that would get piled on our plate, and it just happens. So purposefully put as little on your plate as you possibly can. Take care of the essentials, meaning take care of yourself and take care of your family, those you love. You take care of yourself, take care of those you love, then pick and choose very, very cautiously what else you're going to put on your plate to manage. So take a deep breath, let go of control. Let's redefine control and manage what you can with 51% ownership mindset, and don't worry about the rest. If you can begin to work toward this exact thing on a daily basis, you'll be in a much healthier place emotionally and physically, and in your relationships and in circumstances and situations that come up throughout your life and in your life and about your life. You will be that person that people will look at that is walking calmly through the hurricane, as if the hurricane is not even there. And people will begin to look at you and they'll say, how does that person even do that? You know what? Because that person takes ownership for the 51% that they're responsible for, and they don't worry about the other 49%, because the other 49% belongs to another person that's taking 51% ownership and equity stake in this outcome. And that can apply to any situation, any relationship, anything that we deal with. So if you're in a place where you're just sick and tired of the hamster wheel of, there's no other way to put it, of feeling like crap, and you want to feel better, go to drbriangBrown.com/Gene Hack. That's GENEHACK. And put yourself on the waiting list for the next Gene Hack Bootcamp. We just finished up a Gene Hack Bootcamp. It's going to be in the fall. We'll be doing our next Gene Hack Bootcamp, and you're going to want to get on the waiting list for that. In the Gene Hack Bootcamp, using my proprietary Genesis Zone method, I teach you how to know exactly which of your 5 optimization zones are out of balance. Now, the 5 zones are brain, body, sleep, energy, and immune. And one of those is out of balance more so than the others. I teach you how to determine which one of those is out of balance, which one is your primary zone, that are creating lower physical, emotional, and mental performance for you. And then I show you exactly which genes need to be checked within each of those zones in order to propel you to higher levels of physical, mental, and emotional performance. It's a power-packed 5 days that you'll love. You won't want to miss it, especially if you want to feel better, feel stronger, find balance, have stronger immune system, have improved focus and concentration, have a better mood and lower anxiety, have more energy, stamina, endurance. The list just goes on and on and on. So to get on the waiting list, go to drbriangBrown.com/Gene Hack and follow the instructions there. We'll get you on the waiting list, and the next time we launch, we'll send out a notification and you can join in. And if you have any questions about the Gene Hack Bootcamp, feel free to direct message me on Facebook or Instagram at Dr. Brian G. Brown. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you might have. So tune in next week at noon Eastern Standard Time, where we're going to be doing our next Wellness Warrior segment. And that's going to be on a Tuesday. Remember, the times changed, so that's going to be on Tuesday. And we'll be interviewing another surprise guest, where we'll continue exploring ways in which you can optimize for higher performance. Most informed, most trusted, and most grateful you spent this time with us here this afternoon. Until next time, stay in the zone. I'm Dr. Brian Brown.